And in this lecture, we're going to be talking about some very, very interesting opening discoveries. In opening discoveries, when I'm saying, I don't mean discoveries of in some certain opening on move 16 or as some new evaluation. No, I'm talking about really new chapters put in the well-known openings. Absolutely new chapter. So the first one, we're gonna talk about E45, knight F3, knight C6, well-known position, bishop C4, bishop C5, castle, knight F6. Here, about a year ago, very well-known grandmaster played move D4. D4 and against Adams, and black played bishop takes D4. Actually, the game was played not only, he played this game, and Movsesian played this game, this D4 move against Adams and against 𝐿ECHO. He lost against 𝐿ECHO and he beat Adams. Both games were played absolutely wrong, and both games were badly played. Now, purpose of me delivering you this chapter is not that you learn closely this variation. I just want to show you how endless the discoveries and analysis can go, how absolutely amazing they may become. And you're going to see, of course, I did it with a great help of Rivka. And the discoveries I made together with Rivka, they amaze me as well. Bishop takes D4. And again, I'm not going to analyze every variation in details because we don't have time for that. And if someone is interested, it's in this opening and in the next chapter I'm going to be talking about. If someone is very much interested in complete analysis, that is very hard to get them by yourself, even after analyzing, because as I said, I'm using Rivka on a very, very powerful software, on extremely powerful hardware, which provides almost flawless analysis. So I'm just introducing you, it's kind of overview. I'm not going to go through every variation, but if you guys are interested, you can put request on chess.com, and I may do additional lectures. It's possibility that I may do additional lectures which may cover these openings and these variations in full. But right now, just to attract your attention, just to make it interesting, knight takes D4, F4, D6. You may say that black can play differently. Yeah, black can play differently, but white is doing well in all of those continuations. So, and we are not gonna waste time on that. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Those are the best moves from both sides. And bishop G5. Now, this position was played in both games that we looked, and both games were played with bishop E6, bishop E6, knight A3, queen E7, or queen E7, knight A3, bishop E6, which transposes. So they had this position in both games, and both times, both games were played very, very wrong. This position in this position, white has significant advantage. And I don't want to show why white has an advantage. Well, in order you want to see it, in case you want to see it, you can pull up the game Movsesian. It was played this year in 2009 against Adams, and I believe it was played close to the end of last year against 𝐭𝐴. Against 𝐭𝐴, he played white played bad. With Adams, black played bad. But the reason why, what I want to tell you now is Queen e7 is the best move, not Bishop e6. The problem of Bishop e6 move after knight a3, that white plays c3, and what happens eventually, black never gets a chance to castle, and black will get a bad position. That's what happened in a game against 𝐭𝐴 and Queen c5, and Queen e1 was played by Movsesian, and after castle he lost, and after Queen d2, white is much better because now black cannot castle and queen will go to f2 in case queen is attacked. And again, I don't want to pay special attention to this. Special attention I want to pay to this position. In this position, it took Rivka a long time, and she found a move here that I don't think any human would make if he had unlimited amount of time to think. Move is absolutely mind-blowing, and the more I thought about it, because for me it was easier to understand than for maybe any other human being, because before I came to this move, I studied this position for so long that I knew all ups and downs, all details. And that's why the move that was made a lot of sense to me, move that was suggested by Rivka. Move is very powerful, is rook g8. This move enables black to castle queenside shortly. Bishop will go to d7 and not to e6 and will castle. Now, purpose of rook g8 move, if c3, then knight e6. And if bishop takes f6, gf, after knight to f4, black is going to have devastating attack. Not to mention that they can also play bishop d7 and castle alongside. So now you will see the purpose of rook g8 move. And analysis should start now. Rook g8 is the best move in this position. And for a long time, Rivka was giving in this position advantage to black like 0.80 or 0.75, which means in Rivka's language, if she has an advantage, so one side has an advantage, 0.40, that's already winning. But here, okay, I challenged Rivka. It took me several days. I started studying more, and while I started in preparing against her, I was using the same Rivka engine to help me to to find the best continuation for white. c3 must be played, knight e6, and bishop takes f6 is out of question. Bishop e3 must be played. Now bishop d7, and you see that there is a weak pawn on e4. Black is gonna castle, and white has to do something real quick. Queen b3. The best move is b6 because castle will be met by knight b5. And again, I don't want to go. The idea of showing you this is not to teach you this variation, how you can play no matter what black does. No, the idea of it to show how endless the possibilities are, and you can work and discover your own things, prepare against your own opponents using computer engines. And this way you're gonna get a great edge in the opening. So in this position, b6, and the best move for white, and every move, when I say it's a best move, believe me, this came with hours spending analyzing all other moves. Bishop to e2. And again, those analyses are available, but we cannot do it now in short lecture. I'm just showing you the exciting part of it. Bishop e2, knight takes e4, loses to queen d5. So, and finally black castles. And Rybka suggested knight c4 as the best move. And then black was getting a nearly winning position. So I suggested knight b5. Rybka didn't like it at first, and then when I gave her a lot more time, she liked it a lot better. King b8, those are the best moves. a4, knight takes e4. And here, a5. At first, again, position was evaluated almost like next to lost for white. Knight c5 was suggested first, but knight c5 will be met by queen a2. And the best move is knight d2. In this position, after knight d2, queen is attacked, rook on f1 is attacked, and if white takes this knight, white will be totally lost after bishop takes b5, queen takes b5, rook takes d2, and you see queen c5 check is coming on something like bishop f3, queen c5 check is coming, and white is down a lot of material and white is lost. So what to do for white here? And here is the amazing continuation. Queen a4, knight on b5 has to be taken. Bishop takes b5. Queen takes b5. And now black has two moves. Black, one is rook d6. But after rook d6, white can simply take on b6, go rook d1, and after rook d8, queen takes e5, and white is down only one pawn. They have powerful two bishops, and black's king is vulnerable. I like this position for white. But here is the exciting part of this variation, is knight takes f1, leads to a forced draw, and a draw that can easily be missed by any grandmaster in the world in any tournament game. Every move is forced. A takes b, c takes b. Now, rook takes f1 will lose, well, at least knight c7, if nothing else, and then black is going to go e4, or maybe just double rooks on d file. overwhelming material advantage, and move that makes a draw is bishop takes b6. And now to make a draw in this position, both sides have to make absolutely perfect and some difficult moves. One misstep will be critical. Only move black has in this position, A takes B, and here this position is a draw. Queen takes b6 loses immediately after queen b7. The only move white has is rook a8 check. And amazingly enough, this is a draw because king must take on a8. Every move is forced. Bishop f3 check. And only move that black has here is e4. If black doesn't make e4 move, black loses. Queen b7 loses to queen a6 check with a mate the next move. And king b8 also loses after queen takes b6 check, king c8, queen a6 check, king b8, queen a8 check, king c7, queen b7, king d6, queen c6. That's a mate. So that cannot be played, and that's why e4 is the critical move, which leads to a draw. Bishop takes, king b8, queen takes b6, king c8, queen a6, king c7, queen b7. That's how this is a draw. And king d6, you gotta go queen d5 check and repeat position, because if white plays queen c6, they lose after king e5. That's why e4 move had to be made to free the e5 square for black's king. So now this, I find this variation very exciting, very interesting, but this is just a little part of it. Anytime novelty is played, there is a lot more that game where it was played, this novelty, can show. There is a lot more to it, and only analysis, endless analysis, and flawless analysis can show what's the real evaluation, what's the real value of this opening, and what's the real outcome. To me, it's fascinating. It's a lot more than that. But as I already mentioned a couple of times, we just have so much time to cover that. And if someone has special interest to this, I can find a way of delivering the complete analysis of it. Now, for the next chapter, I want to go to the opening that is older than all of us. Opening is two knights defense. Position is so old and so well known that it's very hard to imagine that there can be any novelty. But there was. Knight a5. Again, I'm not going to cover all the other. There is a b5 move for black. There is knight d4 move for black. Purpose of it, the same approach you should have to this opening as to the previous we just analyzed. I'm going to show you the new sparkling innovation that will totally change the maybe the evaluation of whole openings here. Knight a5, bishop b5 check, c6, dc, bc. Position is extremely old, very, very old. And while bishop e2 can be played, and on h6, knight h3, which was a Fischer idea. But also there may be played bishop d3 move, and bishop d3 move didn't find ever too many followers. I spent also tens of hours analyzing this position, and every time I came to conclusion that white is better, white is better. And then absolutely unexpectedly, I see game played between two grandmasters, Daniel Stellwagen from Holland and 𝐈𝐭𝐚𝐥𝐢𝐚 from Scandinavia. I don't remember exactly from what country, but from Scandinavia. And they obviously have done a lot of work with Rybka. They played perfectly according to Rybka's analysis to this certain point, but at some point they failed. They didn't analyze it deep enough, and therefore game ended quickly in a draw. If they both played recommendation for Rybka, and Rybka wasn't analyzing it deep enough, then it will be, the draw is a normal result. There are a lot of moves here for black. Bishop e7, there is knight d5, there is h6. We cannot analyze all of them. I spend enormous amount of time analyzing every continuation, and I can assure you that black has serious problems in almost in all of them, except for the knight g4 move. And knight g4 move is the one that was played in Stellwagen versus 𝐈𝐭𝐴𝐚 game. Knight g4 and knight e4 move. Well, knight g4 would make no sense to play this move unless black plays f5 now. Now, next several moves are absolutely unconditionally forced for both sides. White's move is bishop e2. You may be skeptical why those moves are best, but believe me, they are. And if you spend some time, you can come to the same conclusion yourself. Bishop e2, h5. Because knight can't really retreat. If black retreats to f6, white is going to take and castle and go d3 or d4, and black will have no compensation at all. h5. This is very sharp. h3, and black must take on e4. Again, every move that you didn't see, every possibility that I'm not going to show you now, was analyzed too. I have it all documented, and if it's necessary, I can provide this material. F takes c, h takes g, and bishop c5. White is very cramped, and position is very sharp. For a long time, Rybka was recommending knight c3 as the best move, but after hours of careful examination, together with Rybka again, the conclusion is that position is equal. So, and again, I don't want to go with it. Move that is best move in this position, and that was played in the game of these two grandmasters, is b4. Now, b4 is the move that absolutely has to be played. And after b4, black has two continuations. Bishop takes f2 is real bad, almost loses, because king takes, queen d4 check, king g3, queen takes a1, knight c3. Now black must retreat the knight because it's hanging. And notice that black cannot do anything to white's king because they don't have any firepower available. And after knight b7 is a killing move, queen g1, where queen goes to e3, and black's queen on a1 totally disconnected from the rest of the black's pieces, and black is totally lost. This is not playable, and this was not played in that game. The correct move is, and the only move, is queen d4. Attacking rook and the pawn on f2. Bishop must be taken. And again now, if black takes rook on a1, they are absolutely lost after knight c3. And again comes the only move. Black must castle first, threatening queen takes f2 mate. White has to do the same. Now black takes the rook. I'm exactly following the game between those two grandmasters. They did superb job analyzing. They did good job analyzing this position with Rivka, but not superb. Superb job was done by me continuing from the position where before the position where mistake was made. Queen takes a1, knight c3. Queen takes a1, knight c3, yes. And here, the only move black has is e3. That's the only move that can be played here. Every other move loses instantly. Well, the idea is that eventually, if pawn takes, for example, the queen is going to come out, white's queen is going to leave the first rank, and black queen on a1 is going to be trapped. Not to mention, you see black has a knight on a5 that is very passive. So e3 is absolutely forced move, and this move too was played in that game. Pawn takes pawn, the best move again. Pawn. They really spend a lot of time with the engine analyzing this position. Rook takes f2, king takes f2, and bishop e6. In this position, white played bishop f3, and after rook f8, neither side has any advantage, and game ended shortly in a draw. You can find this game in database, and it's a forced draw from now on. I, again, don't want to go on with it. Move that gives big advantage, that until move 19, both sides played perfectly. That move that gives big advantage to white is bishop a3, queen takes d1, bishop takes d1. What do we have here? We have position with no queens on board. White has two pawns for exchange. So we have here material equality. White has double pawn. Why is white so much better? That requires very careful approach and very thorough analysis of this position. Knight c4 move here is absolutely meaningless, because whether you play knight c4 or not, we're going to get the same position, because bishop goes to c1, next move will be d3, white will go d3, and knight will go back to e5. So let's start with a check. King G3, and now you'll see that knight C4 again will be bishop C1, and whatever black plays, let's make some random moves for black. D3, knight A5, bishop F3. There is a weak pawn on C6. There is a very powerful outpost for knight on E4, and further on, knight on D6. There is a weak pawn on E5. The position is real bad. I spend a lot of time even in this, from this position. For example, if rook F1, bishop F3, actually D3 first, D3, and well, maybe bishop F3 can be played too, but well, actually bishop E2 we have to play, rook H1, and now D3. Move like bishop A2 takes A2. The combination that doesn't work. White is not going to take on A2 because of rook A1. White is going to go on a bishop B4 and win the game. So rook's invasion to F1 will not do any good for black. So that, which means that what is going to happen, that white is going to put the best move according to Rivka, and I agree. I also spent some time on it, and king G7. But now bishop F3, king takes G6, D3, and black has very, very difficult position. I don't think it can be saved, and it's a real problem. Now, threatening bishop B4, rook B8 has to be played, although black has no points of entry on the B file. White can go king F2, followed by king E3. Very difficult position. E5 weakness, C6 weakness. And this is all after the best play for black. Now, it's possible that improvement can be found for black, but I doubt it very, very much. I doubt it more than I ever doubted anything maybe in chess. That I doubt it very much that in this variation black can find any improvement. Position is from this point, from many moves ago, earlier, position is very straightforward, and that's not the type of position where engine like Rivka can miss any moves at all. I think evaluation of all this variation